Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel Augusta. As you know, I work with animals who are sick, injured, diseased, have been abused. And in addition to that, I help you work with your own animals. I'm really excited because today we are talking with Alana Heim. And Alana Heim is a certified public accountant, a personal financial specialist, a certified financial planner, and a human certified design specialist. Alana is the owner of Prosperity Alignment Incorporated and serves as the Prosperity Alignment Coach. Alana is also contributing to the best-selling author of Abundance by Design, Discover Your Unique Code for Health, Wealth, and Happiness with Human Design. So after working over 15 years in the public accounting industry, Alana realized that her expertise was needed in a unique role of providing financial guidance to those struggling to live within their means. She's on a mission to serve and guide humanity to achieve financial sustainability from the inside out. She masterfully uses her intuition and her technical skills to guide individuals to value and align themselves with their prosperity. Alana lives in Reno, Nevada with her husband, Mike, their 3 children, Taylor and twins, Hazel and Hunter, and their cat, Bailey. And hi, Alana, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me today, Rachel.
Definitely. And people who are listening to this who are in my realm, my world of animals are probably like, what is Rachel doing talking about or with a financial planner? Like, how does that apply to us? And so I just really want to quickly tell them how this ended up being. Alana and I were talking about money. She knows that, I have my own startup company and that I'm in business for myself, and I have been for 5 years. And she was doing what she does best and asking questions and just sort of seeing where I was. And what she realized was that I'm one of those rebelpreneurs that starts a business and just, runs it, but doesn't actually pay attention to the money. And as she was digging a little deeper, she asked me, am I not planning for my children's college funds? And we both laughed because my child is 4-footed and furry. Right? And I was like, Alana, Sasha's not going to college, like not for real. So I don't actually need to plan for someone else's financial future because she's not going to college. I just have to worry about her cat litter and her food. And Alana so swiftly pointed out that things can happen. Health issues can arise, which I know because that's the world I work in. But I've always just used my credit cards. And she was so graceful about pointing out that sometimes you're going to just need more than credit cards. And so Alana and I had this conversation, and basically it boiled down to her saying, why aren't you thinking about your financial future? And I was like, because I don't know that I care about it. And she very gently took me by the shoulders and shook me and said, you need to, because even though you might not have human children, you do have little ones in your care that depend on you if anything were to happen to you. And so that actually really got my attention in a way that no financial advisor actually could. And I wanted to have her just take a second. I wanted to talk with Alana and share her wisdom with you, because if you have animals in your life, you might be in the same boat as me. Or if you only have, cats and dogs and other animals are your fur babies, then maybe you aren't thinking, oh, well, I need to set up my financial stuff for my human children when they're going off to college, or I want to make sure that if I pass away, they're financially taken care of. You might be like me. And if that is you, this is the perfect interview to sit in and listen to Alana, because she's so knowledgeable and she's going to share some wisdom with you that she shared with me. So Alana. How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds awesome. And just to let you guys know, yes, I have the alphabet soup behind my name. I'm a CPA. I'm a PFS, a CFP. So what that usually means is that CPAs kind of sit behind a desk and we're very rigid in the way we think and the way we structure, and sometimes can be intimidating in the way of, oh, I don't know what I need for my finances. So what I realized is, for me, taking a step back, it's not so much about what I know, but what it is that you need from me to impart to help you on your financial journey. So really, I'm working with people who, whether you have pets, whether you have children, whether you have partners or spouses, it's the fact that you're ready to financially have that freedom, that sustainability, to feel secure in your life, following the path that you're here to lead. And so today we're going to dive in and give you some tips to help you to plan and to understand that let's just step outside the box and think about what we can do to take care of you and your fur children.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you said, Rachel, I want to make sure that your fur babies are protected when you're gone, it was just as silly as it sounds, because even though that's my point, my main focus, it just hadn't been on my radar. I think of it when I think of older people, When I see older people, I think, oh, I wonder who's going to help take care and jump in. But, accidents happen all the time. Tragedy happens to anybody, really. I mean, I could walk outside today and get hit by a car, but that's not going to happen. But it could, right? And who would really step up and be able to take care of Sasha is the one, is one point. And then the other side to it, which we can talk about later, you brought up, is making sure that, she's protected, but then financially, how I'd want to do that with her.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and,
okay.
And I'm just curious, I kind of hinted on it, but why is it important to plan for the future, even if I'm this young person that's like, I don't really need to plan for the future?
Yeah.
I don't even know that there's going to be a future. Look at what's happening in the world. Like, why do I need to plan for something, possibly 30 years from now, when who knows what's going to be happening in 30 years?
And so my question back to you is, do you want to live and be here in 30 years?
Yes, I do.
So if you're going to be following let's have the positive thoughts and let's think about the future and the dreams that I'm here to create, if you see yourself being here in 30 years, shouldn't you expect to take care of and plan for that future you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot that can happen in 30 years. There are the what ifs. There are some of the fears that'll come up of, well, but what if something takes me out? And what if I'm not here? What if the world's not here? But the reality is that's living in the fear-based world. And I want you to be empowered to know that you have a purpose and you have a dream, and your dream can carry you far beyond the 30 years that you're even thinking about right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And it's one of those things that even when you're talking about things can happen, I find myself like, I stop breathing, because it is a fear of mine, especially everything that's been going on natural disaster wise. And then, with our administration and politically, it does, I wouldn't be truthful if I didn't say that, like, it does scare me, that so much can change. It seems hard to plan.
Yeah. Now, the thing about all of our systems and how they're all going to implode, like, it's already something that we know, everything's evolving. We as humans are evolving. You want to know how to plan. And so even though you might not think that there's a future to plan for, if you can work on and build the skills now to really know what's important, to know how to stay on track, and to be able to support yourself, even in the future, whatever that system looks like, you're already going to have the inner skills to get through it. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah, it does make sense.
A lot of times we just we're very rigid in our thinking. We're very logical, like, well, I have to have this much money. And what if I don't have this much money? And I don't want to retire. I don't want to think about retiring. I'm never retiring. I want you to think more deeply about what it is you're here to accomplish. And if you know how to really run your business and be successful, it'll be helpful to get you managing your money so that it's going to last through 30 years or beyond. But even still, if you have those skills and the know-how in 30 years to still be working your business and be able to bring in that kind of income that can still support you, that's the important piece. Because a lot of times we forget that we do have those abilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So let me ask you then, how can my animals be supported if something happens to me? Like, how can they be supported financially if something happens to me? Is that something that I actually, I think a lot of people just don't think about it, and then they just assume their family is going to jump in and step in. But is there systems that you can put in place? Like right now I'm, a single woman. Actually, I'm with somebody, but technically I'm a single woman. I'm not married, so I don't have those legal, ties.
Ties holding you.
Ties holding me with somebody. If something were to happen to me, today, tomorrow, or next year, how could I set my animals up to be supported?
So there's a few different options. I'm going to start first with more the current than now. So this is even before you're even considering the future or the what ifs. How I work with all of my clients, it doesn't matter if you have a little money, a lot of money. We all need to manage our money in a way that we can set aside for specific needs, specific dreams, goals, whatever it may be that we have. So right now, your clients are going to be coming to you to help them overcome any medical issues their animals may have. However, you can still set aside money in an account specific for your fur child. So that could be for care, because you never know if something's going to happen, and if they are unable to get to you first and they need that emergency fund, it's there for them. Mm-hmm. It can be a starter fund anyway to help you build the habit of growing your money to support them in the future when you pass. Mm-hmm. You can use that money for, maybe there's certain luxury things that you want to give your fur baby. Like, mm-hmm. I don't know, maybe
a new stroller. Or you
want to get them new attire and
a trip to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
in a bikini. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the thing. Like, they're your children. So why not have money set aside specifically to support them? And you get to be the person in charge of it, and you get to use it however you want. So when you're still alive and well, things are going great, you're already just building this habit. So maybe for you, it's like, $10 a week or a month, I'm putting in this account for Sasha. And we're
so it doesn't actually have to be a lot of money.
No.
You just take $10 a week, or even, whatever it is, $20, or if it's $40 for the month, you can go and put that into an account, into a savings account for them.
That's going to start you out. Mm-hmm. And the hardest part with any habit is getting started, because it feels so incredibly heavy and difficult, and like
you have to go into the bank and do something and talk to people. Yeah.
And maybe even for starters, it's not quite a bank account. Mm-hmm. Maybe you just want a jar or an envelope.
Yeah.
And that has her name. Maybe you could make it beautiful and creative, and like you're putting away money for her, for you guys. And it feels really good. So the intention is to be building this fund to use specifically for whatever she may need. Now, you're an entrepreneur and your business is growing. So right now, maybe you can only do $50 a month. Right. But maybe once you start landing more clients and you're serving more animals, you can now do $100 a month. And that still is comfortable. So it can be a percentage. It can be a flat amount. Mm-hmm. Whatever feels good to you is really what I really recommend.
Yeah, I know for most of my clients, one of the gripes that they have, honestly, is that the health, the healthcare is expensive. A lot of animals don't have health insurance, and it's not that you can't get health insurance, you can. But by the time, how humans work with most of their animals is we don't know animals are sick until they're really, really sick. And then they've been diagnosed. And then it's actually too hard to get insurance to cover the illness they have because it's already a pre-existing health condition, just like it is with humans. We have those pre-existing health condition rules around our insurance. They do as well. So even though a lot of humans could opt in and get health insurance for their animals, they don't think about it until the illness comes to be. And then it's, just honestly, like even a UTI, a urinary tract infection for a cat can cost them, it can cost $2,000 to $3,000 at least, and most people don't just, go to the vet. Oh, here's $3,000. Most people just don't have that. And so a lot of cats end up in shelters or living with this really painful disease and illness because the people can't pay for the procedure. So even when I'm listening to it, it's like, yeah, this would be for fun, but it's also those like an emergency fund.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I mean by it can feel so scary, and a lot of resistance can come up when you start thinking about the future. And if a planner or some financial person is like, future, there's a part of you that's like, how can I think out there when I have to deal with today? Mm-hmm. So right now, that's why when you can build this habit now and be setting aside money, and that's why I say it can be a Sasha fund. It can be whatever you want it to be earmarked for. And that can be fun. It can be emergency. It can be insurance. You
just
never
kind
know.
Of whatever comes up, if you're going to need something, then you're not trying to scramble and round up a few $1,000s to pay for a procedure that you didn't know you were going to need. And you won't cover.
Yeah. Or if you have people who want to work with you and they've already started setting aside money,
then they can use that. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking too, like, people call me a lot of times just for health and wellness, but a lot of people come to me because there's emergencies and then their vets can't help them. And then they have a hard time financially coming up with the money to work with me as well. And if they start putting that aside when there is a hiccup in health or there is a behavioral issue or they want to jump into one of my courses, which, by the way, would be a fun fund for Family Academy. My online course is actually a ton of fun, but you learn a lot. Then you have the money to do it.
Exactly. And this is the cool part, because it may feel scary at first, but then once you just get used to it, and like I said, as you notice your income going up, you're going to be able to allocate more money to that fund. And guess what? In 30 years, if you spent it to go work with Rachel to help your animals, and you have healthy animals and you're still taking care of them, but you have this money that's just growing and is still there in 30 years, now you have this fund that can help support your animal should anything happen to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that. And, I like the idea of, I guess when we talk about future, it's so far in advance that it's hard for my brain to, wrap around, like, what does future look like? What does that mean? But just having this conversation and saying, I'm going to put money aside so that if I want to drop into a class to figure out how to make Sasha's life better, if it's a behavioral, if it's for Family Academy again, or whatever it is, or, jump into a place where I can better her life, better my life with her, then I have the money to do that. Or if I need to take her to the vet, or if, I randomly go to the vet and they say there's, this going on and we really recommend this treatment, then I'm not going into a state of freak out.
Yeah, you're not stressing out and you're no longer afraid, And so even now that we've just talked about that, how do you feel about being able to set up a fund like that? Does it feel lighter? Does it feel easier?
It actually really does, because I recently I visited a veterinary clinic that was having an open house, and I was so impressed by this veterinary clinic because they offered so much integrative healthcare like I do. They had acupuncture and laser and chiropractor and all these things that I definitely stand behind and I believe in, that works in conjunction with my work. And I was thinking, I really want to start getting Sasha in there and getting her some acupuncture since she's only a 3-year-old, because it's really important to get your animals feeling comfortable being touched, so that when they are sick or when they are older, vets can do what they need to do without being totally attacked by harshly domesticated animals. And so, so I was thinking, oh, it'd be great to get her. I do my own work with her, but what I do is different than acupuncture. It's not like having needles put in you. And I was thinking, oh, I need to get, that's on my radar. I'm going to start doing that. So actually just having this conversation with you has made me decide I am going to pull out the glitter and we're going to make a super pretty Sasha jar. And it's going to be, her integrative health jar, her, acupuncture and being able to go out and do some things. And I was even talking this morning with my sister about traveling more with her and getting her used to travel. And so we'll put little trips planned, because when you travel with cats, you want to give them the most, the best treats ever in the world. So they associate it as being a good thing. So that'll also go into the best treats in the world will be also funded with her glitter jar.
I love it. And it just kind of ties back into even us as humans. When we really want something, we'll find a way to get it. And that's even in the way of healthcare for us. That if insurance and all these hoops and things that you have to jump through to get the care that you want. But when you know that you can take back control of your health and your finances by setting aside specifically to meet your needs, it doesn't really matter about the system anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And, and the thing is, a lot of animal people who have animals complain about, healthcare is not covered, and agreed. Like it's not fair. Like massages aren't covered for me under my health insurance, but I still plan them into my financial future because I know how important they are for me to stay healthy.
Exactly.
And, like having a massage once a month is really good for me. It's really good for my mental health and my physical health. So I plan it into my finances. So being able to do that for Sasha with preventative. And the reason why I do it is because I know that down the line, it's going to save me money if I'm not taking care of my body, I'm going to end up spending more money later.
Yep.
So the financial planning now with my animals will help save me money.
And you're taking yourself out of the system, if you will. Do you know what I mean? So we already talked a little bit about the fear of the systems and what if and the future. It doesn't matter what happens to the systems if you're already taking care and creating your own systems that work for you and your family, your humans, your animals. It doesn't matter. You're already setting aside because insurance doesn't cover this, but I know what it does for me and it's really important. So you make that a priority and you set aside funds for it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, I really like that. So doing a starter fund, you'd mentioned there was some other awesome tips.
Yeah. So now we're talking about you're alive, you're well. Now you've created this starter fund that's helpful today, but can still be available in the future. Now the hard conversation, talking about you passing away. If something happens tomorrow or 30 years from now, and let's just say Sasha lives so long, she's there in 30 years.
Right.
Who will take care of her?
Right.
So the first piece is starting to really know, who do I trust to become the guardian or the caregiver of my loved one.
Right.
Because you have to find somebody that you trust and who will ultimately follow your instructions. So the crazy thing is, when we think about planning for our future, and you may have heard the terms wills and trusts, and it's like you said, that's for old people. That's not for me. Why do I need that? Well, the really cool thing is you can create a pet trust for your animal.
What? Okay. I am glad you're bringing this up because in the natural disasters that have just happened in Florida, Hurricane Irma, Hemingway, everybody was talking about Hemingway's cats were protected and his home where he lived. And I was like, Hemingway's cats in his home and the people who still work for him, which means his residence is still like his under his name. But I think
probably
under his cat.
His trust may own it, and he's going to have trustees, people who manage the property on behalf of the animals.
That's actually what I think is happening because he loved his cats so much that everything is being managed on behalf of the cats to make sure they're protected.
That's awesome. So the thing with animals, unfortunately, they're treated as personal property. Mm-hmm. So you can't say, I leave all my money to my animal. You can't specifically leave it to them. You have to create a trust, which is a separate entity that can hold and house the money, the assets, whatever you want to leave. Mm-hmm. Now, it is a little more expensive. Mm-hmm. You're going to need an attorney. You want a reputable estate attorney who has handled and created and drafted pet trusts. Mm-hmm. But it's a great way to have your wishes detailed and specifically laid out. And you're going to have a trustee. So that's somebody who's going to manage the actual money within the trust. And I would recommend having a caregiver that's separate from the trustee. Mm-hmm. So there can be some issues. Let's just say if you had the same person where maybe you've left $20,000, and if the trustee and the caregiver are the same, maybe they're like, I'm not going to actually use this money. I'm going to wait for Sasha to die so that whatever's left over, maybe they pay themselves fees or, you want to create some sort of a remainder beneficiary, somebody who the assets go to upon Sasha's death. So right. There's a lot of kind of moving pieces, but ultimately just having this knowledge to know, I can care for my animal. A pet trust is especially helpful
after I've died, if they're still.
And you want to create it before you die. So you create a living trust that goes into effect upon your death. But for animals like Galapagos turtles, the tortoises, parrots, some of those animals that live 70 to 100, 150 years,
right? You
would want to trust
to make sure that they're going to be protected and okay.
Because what will happen to them otherwise? Are they going to end up at the shelter? Is some family member going to willy-nilly take them because they have to, but then they don't give them the care that they specifically need?
Right.
You can detail all of that.
The families don't take them and they end up in the shelter, and it's really horrible because these animals end up grieving their human, their guardian that they lost, and now they're living in a cage in a shelter possibly the rest of their life, because a lot of these animals are older, and a lot of older animals don't get adopted because people want kittens and puppies and don't want the responsibility of a parrot that might live another 30 years.
Yeah. So when I have somebody who will become that caregiver, you're going to ultimately give them responsibility upon your death. Everything will have to kind of be, taken care of, and an attorney will have to administer it. But if that's too much, because a trust can be very costly to set that up and have everything specifically laid out, you can just create a statutory pet trust. Mm-hmm. And all states now have this trust, including Minnesota, because I know they were the last state to pass this. But ultimately, if you don't want to set up a trust, you might just have a will. And in your will, you can specifically say, I leave $10,000 in trust for the care of Sasha. And it will have to go to court. And the court will then have to set aside and make sure that happens. But you can legally have the agreement where you've set it aside, at least it's there. But you may not, the details of the care instructions, that won't necessarily happen. And even being specific, you might be able to say, I want this caregiver, but the court's going to manage it. And so
it's better to do it ahead of time.
Yes. And maybe not quite use that, but depending on your needs, if you're just like, you know what, I know somebody's going to take care of them. Here's the money that's set aside. That can
Mhm.
happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Like an easier way.
Yeah, you know what this makes me think of? It makes me think of a lot of the sanctuaries, animal sanctuaries, and micro sanctuaries. There's a lot of micro sanctuaries, which are, small families that ended up now they maybe have 12 roosters. I'm thinking of Rooster Redemption actually has, 12 roosters that they care for that they've rescued from cockfighting rings. And, sanctuaries that might have 10 or 12 animals that they are caring for. What if something happened to the caregivers? Do the animals actually have protection from going forward? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, there's another option that you can do on LegalZoom,
mhm,
and that's just simply called a pet protection agreement.
mhm,
So that's where you can legally draft a binding agreement with you and your caregiver.
mm,
So that way you can have your explicit instructions,
mhm.
and it's just something you can do now, and it can be a binding agreement that'll still hold up even after you pass.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. So, getting a starter fund going for, health and wellness, preventative health care, which could be the fun part because it is good to take care of yourself and get massages and stuff like that. And then the setting up a trust or some sort of legal contract.
Yes, and those are going to be more specifically you planning for if something happens to you. You're going to
Mhm.
know you've designated a person to be the caregiver, you've set aside some funds for them, you are ensuring that your animal's future will be taken care of even if you're no longer here.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. I like that. And it's important. It is important to think about it, even no matter how old you are, really. You really don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where, there's so many financial tools out there. Just to
Hmm.
throw one out there, life insurance is something that we kind of overlook and we don't really use as much as we did in the past.
Yeah.
But you can get a life insurance policy on you,
Hmm.
and maybe that helps fund the trust.
Yeah.
That creates the money flow that's necessary. So, there's different insurance policies. There's term, there's some whole life. I would recommend you can find a reputable insurance agent. Financial planners sometimes offer those, but you want to find somebody you trust who gets what you're trying to do and
Right.
isn't just like, Rachel, here's what you need to do
Right.
this, and you're like fearful and like
Yeah.
hate the process.
Yeah, exactly. Because then that's when I back out, and that's
Yeah,
probably what has happened to me in the past. That's made me be like, I'm
absolutely.
good, we're good.
Yeah, it
I don't need
happens.
to look at my bank statements.
Yeah, and you're not alone. You're in good
Yeah.
company. And this is why people have such an aversion to planning for their future, because it's like, wait a minute, you really want me to think 30 years from now? I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen today. And so we just get really
Right.
resistant. But when you can break it down, bite size, have it fit you so it feels really good, that's the point. That's the point of you securing your future for you and your family.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So then let me ask you, like, you're having this conversation with me. You had this conversation with me because because we're both entrepreneurs and you were just curious to know where I was thinking about money and planning for my future. And this whole topic came up talking about animals. But how do you support your clients? I'm just curious. Like we've had this conversation and it's really woke me up to that I should be thinking about things. But how do you support your clients?
So I've completely stepped out of the typical CPA world. So I'm not going to prepare your taxes. I'm, not going to be the asset manage money person who's going to manage all the funds. I'm no longer the doer. So I am strictly like the consultant, the advisor, the coach. And what's fun for me is that I get to go more into your money beliefs, your emotions around money,
Mm.
even the fears that are coming up. So you like talking about being fearful of the future. There's some conditioning and things that have happened. So I've created a program where I work with my clients, and a year-long program is best because we can really get through this transformational journey that has to happen for you to really come into relationship with your money. But ultimately, I work with people on few sessions. Where do you want to take it? Let's dive into your unconscious money aspects. Let's really get clear on who you are energetically as a person and align all of that with your dreams and your goals.
What does that mean when you say who you are energetically as a person?
So I use human design.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a certified human design specialist. So I use that energy blueprint of who you are to understand how you actually are here to work with the flow instead of against it. So it's like, maybe there's a part of you that's like, I want to save for my animal, but it's just so hard and I just don't know how to do it. Maybe you really are pushing when you're supposed to just wait. Maybe you're here to actually have a different wealth strategy and a different authority for making decisions. So when you can get clear on knowing who you are and how you process, now I can work with you in a way that feels good to get you to those financial goals.
So I'm curious, like that clearly is one example of of a person who you just described, but what are some other examples of people? Like what if there is a, because what you're basically saying is there's a formula, a design that we kind of all fit into, whether it's this design or that design, we all kind of fit into these different areas.
Roughly. That's one layer. There's many layers. So I can really work with clients.
So you figure out all the different layers. So you could say, okay, well, Rachel is like this around money, but when she works in her business with clients, she acts like this and this and this. And it's kind of like putting a puzzle together.
Yes, absolutely. And part of the problem with the puzzle is if you don't even know what the puzzle's supposed to look like, how are you going to put the pieces in? And so I'm helping you to really see what you look like so that you understand that how you do handle money in your personal life, in your business, it's all this pattern that consciously and unconsciously can affect you. And so maybe we have to unravel it. And so there's a lot of people who overspend. Maybe they're constantly using the credit card and they don't know why. And then they get the guilt and the remorse and the shame. I want you to feel good about your money when you're spending it, when you're saving it. And sometimes it's really hard, like you said, to even start wanting to save it because you're like, I don't see what the point of the future. Why do I need to save?
Right. Okay. So let me ask you, because you know a little bit about me. You dove a little bit into my my puzzle and my human design. And like when it comes to money for me, I'm of the mind, well, I have a credit card, so I'll just spend it. And a lot of times, I mean, even when it's like, if something were to happen to Sasha today, which it's not going to, but let's just say Tinkerbell. You know, I have a dog, Tinkerbell, and something bad happens to Tinkerbell and it's going to cost $5,000. I wouldn't think twice about it. I would just spend the $5,000 because I in my mind, I'm like, there's credit. We have credit cards. It's not a big deal. And I don't fear, even when I don't fear that money, there's a flow. Do you think that fits into my design?
So you do have the energy of abundance. So the part of abundance, whether you see it as money related or even health related, and this is kind of the energy of, we know that we can overindulge or we can underindulge and have too much, too little. You want to find that balance. There's a lot of trust there. So it's more, connecting to that spiritual side of just trusting it's all going to work out. So you might not have the $5,000 today, but in a way you're like already trusting it's going to show up.
Right.
And you know how to work and you know how to go earn it. You know how to go create a new program or get new clients.
Right. And I think, and just talking to you, it's like I have these triggers going off where I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe that's why I don't feel the need to plan for the future. Cause I'm like, something will happen, an apple will fall off the tree. And, and it usually does, but sometimes not quickly enough. And then I have to really scramble. And, but I do have the mindset that, and now I'm getting clarity, even just talking to you and having this conversation, that I do have this abundance mindset. Like, money comes, money goes. It's okay. You know, I can't let it break
Yeah.
me. But what it could do is set me up that later in life, I don't have systems in place to let me just retire.
Yeah. And the thing is, you are a worker. So
Mhm.
it drives you. You love it. I mean, it doesn't feel like work. You could
Right.
just do it
Yeah, because
all
I
day
work
long.
with the animals. I work with
Yeah.
furry people all day long. But you know, part of the reason why I go get massages monthly is because I work on the floor a lot of times. I'm like doing the splits over bull mastiffs, and you know, like, and it can hurt my back, and I need to make sure that my body is stretching and moving and feels good, so that if I need to get out in a horse barn and lay in the mud with a horse or a pig or whoever, you know, my body is working. And if
Yeah.
my body ever wasn't working, then I would actually be in financial distress.
Exactly. And so the thing about money, it does need to flow.
Hmm.
And it's okay if you're moving it from one account to another. It's okay to be building those habits, even within personally or in your business, to set aside some extra.
Hmm.
And you know it's going to flow at some point. You're going to spend it, you're going to have a higher purpose, and you're going to use it. But it's okay to even have some of it go into an account where it is growing, and you're still
Right.
going to have the fluidity and the movement of the money. And you're just going to still know that you are supported, because a lot of us have the belief that we have to work hard to earn money.
Hmm.
And that's simply a belief that's not necessarily true. So that's
Right.
something that unconsciously you might have within you that you don't know that is actually causing you to take certain actions.
Mm.
And maybe you're thinking, I won't ever retire. So those are the kinds
Right.
of mindset work and things that we have to really clear out, so that you can realize I can work and I can rest and I can be taken care of. I can still earn money even when I'm not working hard.
Totally. So what you really do is you look at somebody's kind of how they maneuver in this world and go, this is really great, this is great, this is great, but these are where the holes are. So let's go in and figure out what's going on so that everything's flowing and moving exactly as it should be based on how you behave.
And based on who you are. Because the truth is, some of your beliefs, most of them, will come from your childhood or the people that raised you or the people you were around, because you were around their energy and you thought you were there. You thought you were them. So fast forward in life, you haven't been around them, but it's just ingrained.
Mhm.
So I need to help uncondition you, if you will, and get you in alignment with who you are personally, so you can do your professional work, your personal work, you can feel fulfilled, and you have money that can support you in all of it.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, really awesome, Alana. I love what you do. And I love that we just had that random conversation talking about money with me, because I don't even remember how it came up. I said something like future smoocher, and it like triggered, you know, this conversation
Like, I don't
between
care
us.
about my
I
future.
don't
I
care
don't
about
want to
my
retire.
future. I don't, yeah. And like, I don't know what's going to happen. So I don't think about it, you know? Which is really how I function in a lot of different ways. And so it's awesome to have this, and it's awesome to talk with you, because I know there's other people out there that are really similar to me. I know there's women in my age group that focus on their careers. You know, it's what are the statistics? Women are starting businesses 1.5 times faster than men.
Yeah.
And sorry, men, but it's the truth. And a lot of women are entrepreneurs, and so they're focusing on their career. And whether it's by choice or not, a lot of people are having fur babies, and not necessarily human children, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of different reasons. And so a lot of times I find myself thinking, well, yeah, but I'm not like you. When I hear people talking about, oh, your 401k, oh, your future, oh, you're retire this, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not you. I am doing something totally different. I'm, you know, a young female entrepreneur, and I have a cat, and I live in the city and a top floor, you know, apartment building, and I don't need to think about 401ks because I'm living a different life. But while I don't need to plan everything the same way, there are things that I can actually be planning, and I can be setting Sasha up and myself up so that if anything were to happen, we're still totally protected. Not that it's going to.
But you can still do it your way because it feels good to you. So it's like I don't tell my clients, hey, we need to start setting aside 10% of your income to retirement, because if you've already told me I don't care about retirement, I'm doing a disservice. You know what I mean? It's like it's not so much about the knowledge, it's about let's apply it in a way that feels good and works for you so you can actually hit that goal and you can achieve it and feel like the badass that you are.
I love it. Okay, awesome. So I know you were going to offer, you'd mentioned that you wanted to offer a free gift to my clients and people that I know that are listening to this.
Yes, absolutely. So I just created a one-page quick document, like a PDF, that is called Planning for Your Fur Family's Future. And it's just to reiterate some of the points and go a little bit more deep in detail about the pet trust and some of these options. And my intention is for you to just have it, set it aside, keep it. You might not be ready today. Maybe you're ready tomorrow, 5 years from now, but it's something for you to remember and have to refresh so you can go to it, you can look at it. So to get that gift, you can go to my website, which is www.prosperityalignment.com/animal gift, all one word.
I love it. So what we'll do is we'll post that link to this video so that you can just go in there and click on it. And then also I'll send it out in an email, but it's prosperityalignment.com.
Yep. /animal gift.
/animal gift. Awesome. I love it. That's so awesome. And I love that you called it Fur Family, because everybody knows, if you know me, that there are fur family. Yeah. So it's so awesome. Well, this has been really actually enlightening again to talk to you, because I think I have such like money planning future.
Yeah, you're like, no, you will not pass.
You will not talk to me about planning for the future. And I know it's an emotional block. And like, I think the last time
I was like, I'm
just gonna sneak in here and cuddle next to you a little bit,
and maybe pet you a little.
I know, and I actually could feel myself kind of shutting off a little bit when you were talking to me about money before, where it can be hard for me to listen to, and I know that that's an emotional block that I have around money. And my parents struggled when we were growing up. They just didn't make a lot of money, and I know that probably is why I'm like, easy come, easy go, everything's gonna be fine. Mommy loves daddy, daddy loves mommy, we're gonna be eating spaghetti for a month, top ramen. And so so this has been really, really good. So we're gonna post the link to Alana's gift, and it's a PDF that helps them plan.
Yeah, it's just going to kind of reiterate, give them more information about the stuff we talked about today, the pet trust, the statutory pet trust, and even that protection agreement, giving them information where to go and what to look for.
That's so awesome. Thank you, because you can really get lost looking for those things online.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go down crazy rabbit holes. You're like, what is this? I don't know.
Does this apply?
Am I being scammed? What is this? Yeah. Why am I on the government website now? So awesome. Well, thank you so much. Do you have any wrapping up parting words you would like to share?
My mission is to get humanity to achieve sustainability financially. So I see it for every single person, and I know it's possible. And even though it feels really impossible, it's these little baby steps that you take that get you closer to your dreams and get you that much closer to just sustaining yourself financially and, purposefully, and all of it. So you just feel good, and you can get out of the whole fear-based mentality we've lived in for so long, and you just truly go with what feels right.
I love it. That's really awesome. Thank you so much. It was so great spending this Friday afternoon with you.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Too. If we didn't live in separate states, we could be doing it over a glass of cava. It could be. That
Way
actually
to go.
get me to talk about money if it was over glasses of bubbly.
Good to know.
Even more, even more. Awesome. Thank you so much, Alana.
Thank you, Rachel. It's been
Okay.
fun.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.